airlines to adhere strictly to the refund timelines, as failure to comply will attract immediate sanctions under Part 19 of the regulations. The director added that the Part 19 of the NCAA Regulations 2023 is aimed at safeguarding passenger rights. And the police command in the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, has banned the procession of the proscribed Islamic Movement of Nigeria, IMN, to commemorate the 2024 Islamic Calendar Day of Ashura in Abuja. This is contained in a statement issued by the Police Public Relations Officer in the FCT, SP Josephine Ade. The police said intelligence had it that members of the proscribed group are planning a procession to mark the Ashura Day, and according to the police, antecedents have shown that such activities carried out by members of the IMN, also known as Shiite, often result in significant disturbances leading to anarchy and chaos within the territory. The police spokesperson therefore warned any individual or member of the proscribed organization to refrain from or shun any intended form of protest or procession in the FCT. And human rights activist Dele Farotimi has been granted a 50 million naira bail by the Federal High Court in Ado-Ekiti, Ekiti State. The presidential candidate of the African Action Congress in the 2023 election, Omoyele Sowore, via his ex-handle, disclosed the court's decision. The court granted Farotimi a 50 million naira bail with a surety in livestock and landed property. The case was adjourned to January 29, 2025. And the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, has attributed the country's education and healthcare delivery to corruption. Abbas stated this in Abuja at the occasion of the International Anti-Corruption Day, which is held at the National Assembly Complex, Abuja. International Anti-Corruption Day has been observed annually on December 9th since the passage of the United Nations Convention Against Corruption on October 31st, 2003 to raise public awareness for anti-corruption. In his keynote address, Abbas noted that, if not curbed, corruption will continue to constitute a formidable obstacle to the nation's collective progress. Abbas, represented by the House Deputy Chief Whip, George Azodinobi, called on lawmakers as representatives of the people to use their tripartite roles of lawmaking over. Meanwhile, the Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Mamman, will chair the long-awaited 2024 policy meeting in Abuja by the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Examination (JAM), as all is now set for admissions into the nation's tertiary institutions. The policy meeting will authorize the commencement of this year's admission. The board, in its weekly news bulletin, stated that this year's exercise will also feature the National Tertiary Admissions Performance Merit Award, where the overall winner will receive 500 million naira and other consolation winners who share 250 million naira collectively. The policy meeting, usually attended by vice chancellors of the universities, rectors of polytechnics, monotechnics, and the Innovation Enterprise Institute, provost of colleges of education, and other critical stakeholders will consider and approve the guidelines for the 2024 admission exercise, review the performance of the 2023 admission exercise, as well as the 2024 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination UTME performance of candidates. The Nigerian Army performed a symbolic lowering and hoisting of the command flag of the Army headquarters as Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluyede assumed command as the 25th in an acting capacity following the death of his predecessor, Lieutenant General Taurid Lagbaja. The Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, had on 1st November handed him in an unusual ceremony in line with the Armed Forces Act. The symbolic lowering and hoisting of the command flag, which signifies the beginning of his tenure, came after the Senate and House of Representatives confirmed his appointment. And former President Olusegun Obasanjo has said that tackling corruption at the highest levels of leadership would set an example for others and demonstrate the government's commitment to transparency and integrity. Obasanjo, speaking on Sunday night during an interactive session on Zoom tagged Boiling Point Arena, insisted that Nigeria's battle against corruption can only be effective and successful if it begins with accountability among top government officials. The former president described corruption as hydra-headed and one that has eaten deep into the fabric of Nigerian society, emphasizing that the fight against corruption must start with leadership for it to succeed. He stressed that the fight against corruption must be a consistent and daily affair to nip it in the bud. Meanwhile, the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi of the Senior Advocate of Nigeria, and the President of the Nigerian Bar Association, NBA, Mazi Afam Osigwe, also of the Senior Advocate of Nigeria, have expressed support for integrating the youth in the anti-corruption fight. Speaking at the commemoration of the International Anti-Corruption Day with the theme Uniting Youth Against Corruption, Shaping Tomorrow's Integrity, Fagbemi said the youth have throughout history been at the forefront of transformative movement, being trailblazers, dynamic forces, intelligent, passionate, and brimming with innovative ideas. Similarly, while addressing the press to mark the United Nations Day, Osigwe called on the National Judicial Council, NJC, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, and others to institute a lifestyle audit mechanism to identify officials living above their means as a deterrent against corruption. The Director General of the Kano State Pilgrims Welfare Board, Alhaji Lamin Mbapa, has called on all intending pilgrims in the state to ensure the completion of their Hajj deposit. Mbapa, in a press statement made available to newsmen at the end of a one-hour radio program, emphasized the importance of adhering to the prescribed timeline for the sacred pilgrimage. He clarified that the annual Hajj pilgrimage is a fixed religious obligation that cannot be deferred under any circumstances. Also in the news, the United Kingdom's UK High Commissioner to Nigeria, Richard Montgomery, has said the UK granted 300,000 new visas to Nigerians in the last 2 years. Montgomery, speaking on the television program, noted that Nigeria is a major beneficiary of the UK's visa policies. Also, the British Deputy High Commission, Mr. Johnny Baxter, speaking during the launch of a new visa application centre, VAC in Ikeja, Lagos State, through its new commercial partners, said Nigeria remained one of UK's most important partners. You're watching Midday News on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. When Midday News returns, Chinese President Xi Jinping warns of no winners in the trade war with US. Details of this, as well as business and sports stories, coming right after this break. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying tuned, and now moving on to the business scene. The Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission, RMAFC, has vehemently opposed President Bola Tinubu's controversial tax reform bills currently under consideration by the National Assembly, citing potential violations of the Constitution. In a 9-page memorandum signed by its chairman, Muhammad Bello Shehu, the RMAFC detailed various legal, constitutional, and technical objections to the proposed legislation. The Commission emphasized that Section 162, subsection 2 of the 1999 Constitution, as amended, exclusively empowers it to determine an equitable revenue sharing formula among the 3 tiers of government, guided by principles of fairness and justice. And the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, said the new Port Harcourt refinery is over 90% completed. The Port Harcourt Refining Company, PHRC, operates 2 refineries. The old plant, with a capacity of 60,000 barrels per day and a new facility with 150,000 barrels per day, bringing the refinery's combined crude processing capacity to 210,000 barrels per day. The Group Chief Executive Officer of NNPC, Mele Kyari, stated this when Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, and the Trade Union Congress, TUC leaders visited the facility in Rivers State. Kyari, who was represented by NNPC's Executive Vice President Downstream, Isiaku Abdullahi, said the new Port Harcourt refinery is under rehabilitation and would be updated soon. Meanwhile, world oil prices jumped in fresh moves by China to boost its economy, and as traders tracked an uncertain future for Syria and the wider crude-rich Middle East. Major stock markets diverged as investors reacted to political crisis in South Korea and France, and gold, seen as a haven investment, gained nearly 1%. Analyst at Traders Corp Markets, Joshua Mahoney, says the week has kicked off on a largely upbeat tone following the welcome announcement that Chinese authorities plan to enact further stimulus over the year ahead. Oil prices rose more than 1% as traders tracked development in Syria after President Bashar al-Assad fled the country over the weekend as Islamist-led rebels swept into Damascus. Investors also reacted to news China, where President Xi Jinping and other top leaders said they would adopt a more relaxed approach to monetary policy as they hashed out plans to boost the economy next year. And the National Information Technology Development Agency has issued a warning about a new version of the Grandorero banking malware, which is targeting users globally through sophisticated phishing campaigns. In an advisory released by NITDAD's Computer Emergency Readiness and Response Team, the agency described the Grandorero as a significant threat, using advanced techniques including screen overlay attacks and remote device control to steal sensitive information such as banking credentials and personal data. The country's technology regulator explained that the malware is primarily distributed via phishing emails and fraudulent websites that deceive victims into downloading malicious software disguised as legitimate updates or documents. Now moving on to the foreign scene. Chinese President Xi Jinping has warned that there would be no winners in a trade war with the United States and vowed the country would hit its growth goals for the year. Former U.S. President Donald Trump, who returns to the White House next month, unleashed a grueling trade war with China during his first term in office, lambasting alleged intellectual property theft and other unfair practices. He has pledged to impose even higher tariffs in China after taking office on January 20th, as Beijing is grappling with a shaky post-pandemic economic recovery. Xi said of China-U.S. relations while meeting several heads of multilateral financial institutions in Beijing, tariff wars, trade wars, and technology wars go against historical trends and economic growth, and there will be no winners. Brazil's President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has undergone surgery following a brain hemorrhage caused by a recent fall. The Syrian-Lebanese hospital in Sao Paulo made the announcement, stating that the operation was completed without complications and Lula is doing well and under monitoring in the intensive care unit (ICU). U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has vowed to end birthright citizenship, under which people born in the United States are considered citizens. The move will strip rights from those born in the country to undocumented parents, despite the protection being enshrined in the Constitution. In a wide-ranging interview, which also touched on his plans for January 6th pardons and the Ukraine war, he redoubled his campaign pledge to oversee mass deportation of illegal immigrants. The program, he said, will begin with undocumented immigrants who have committed crimes. And now we move on to the world of sports, where West Ham stars Jarrod Bowen and Thomas Souček dedicated Monday's vital 2-1 win over Wolves to Michail Antonio as their teammate recovers from a horrific car crash. Jamaica striker Antonio needed surgery and a lower limb fracture after being cut out of his Ferrari following the terrifying accident in Epping. West Ham boss Yulen Lopetegui added it was a miracle the 34-year-old had survived the crash. Hammers fan held a minute's applause for Antonio in the 9th minute to match his shirt number. A Nigerian striker and 2013 African winner Brownie Deye has joined 9-time Nigerian champions Eyimba until the end of the 2024-2025 season. Sporting director of the Aba Giants and ex-international Ifeanyi Ekwueme confirmed